You're listening to The Bounding Box, where we talk about web development, geo development, and everything in between. All right, welcome to The Bounding Box. So this is episode 1 of season 2 of The Bounding Box 2023. And to start off, we're kicking off with John Nelson. John, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, what's your problem.
Renee, what is your problem, Renee? Hey, thanks for inviting me on. Season 2, episode 1. Congratulations.
That's right. Thank you.
I'm honored.
You.
Thanks for the invitation. What is my problem? You're my problem. I work with you. You're a colleague of mine. My problem is I don't work with you enough. Occasionally we've collaborated a couple glorious times. That was a lot of fun. We need to find more ways to do that. Remember the blog post?
The blog posts were great.
Series we did?
Yeah, working with how to work with your developer, then how to work with your cartographer. I think was the gist of it, right? Yeah, those were some really fun ones, and I think anyone out there that is like working somewhere that you're a dev or you're the person in charge of making the maps and publishing web map stuff, working with developers, they're good reads. They're good fun reads, some nice tips and everything in there.
Yeah, it was fun to write. It came from many tears over the years.
Yeah, exactly. And
you learn the hard way. I do.
And John knows every time John does something really cool, like some cool map or whatever he's doing, like one of the first questions I'm asking, like, John, is there a web map for that? Because seriously, come on.
I just today did a YouTube video about adding a layer of mist in ArcGIS Online. I always do it in ArcGIS Pro, but you can totally do it in ArcGIS Online. So I just released that one. So
that's
cool. I'm trying to do more ArcGIS Online stuff. So as you get ideas, feel free to feed them over.
It's great. I mean, my initial background came from working with ArcMap and doing stuff like that, and it is I am blown away every time like they show something that you can do in ArcGIS Online that would have taken me like days to do and finalize in like ArcMap back in like 2004 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like the rendering capabilities in Online, the effort they've put into like pushing that forward. I mean, sure, the blend modes, but then the effects, a couple blend modes with effects. And in addition to all the other stuff that you can do with, the web-based GIS, it's just bananas now. And I'm loving it.
Even though I know you don't work too much with the 3D stuff, but like back in the day, they had like ArcScene as part of ArcMap. And I would have to prepare, like it would take me days to like prepare and render out like maybe 4 or 5 different scenarios for line of sight or view sheds or something like that. And now you just like spin up an app or open up the scene viewer and like you're good to go. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this stuff is so like easy to do now.
Right in a browser. Yeah. When was that? Is 2001 or 2002, one of those. I installed the like free trial version of ArcScene because I wanted to do a 3D rendering. I wanted to fly over some of the little Oregon Trail kind of thing and see and fly through the mountains. And so I did that and it was great. I figured it out. I exported it as a little MPEG video or whatever it was. And then my trial period ran out, and any ArcMap project I had opened with that extension I was locked out of. And it was so scary for me. That was one of the scariest professional moments I've ever had. Oh no!
Oh man,
I didn't even need ArcScene for this. No,
that's worse than like losing your work. Like when you don't save and stuff.
Yes, it's there. I've lost my key. Like those people who lose their cryptocurrency tags.
Oh yeah, if you forget your passkeys and like you're locked out of your millions in Bitcoin.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
Oh wow. So John, so you've been at Esri for almost 8 years now, is that right? So
that's crazy. When did I come? I came in 2015. So
you joined Esri right about the time I did, because I think I'm about almost 8 years. Wow, okay.
Okay. I came in October of 2015.
All right, I was in March 2015.
Okay, so you beat me. You're
just
old
by a
school.
few months.
You're a veteran.
But you were using it way before that too. You were using all the product stuff way before that. You were creating some awesome things before you even came over to Esri, right? So
Yeah, I was working for a software company and it was doing data viz, but not all geographic data viz, but it was like a startup. And so I had a GIS background and I was their UX person.
okay.
And so anytime a customer would have data that was, vaguely geographic or needed to become geographic, then I'd be like, okay, today I'm the GIS guy. And then the next day I'd be the graphic design guy making icons. And then the next day I'd be the UX guy designing, information architecture and workflow. That was crazy. And I actually got out of making maps themselves. I didn't make maps for years. I was just, playing around with data and
Mhm.
designing the platform for visualizing data and, charts and maps too. But I did miss it. I did miss it. So I was happy to get back into
So was
good old map
UX
making.
was UX design your initial background before you started getting into maps?
No, my background is geography and GIS, and but I have a minor in art.
Okay.
So there's that. But my first jobs were GIS, and well, no, my first my one first job I was a GIS analyst for a Native American tribes natural resources department, which was really cool. And then I went back to grad school for GIS. But my long-term job was a UX design person. So I had to kind of shift over into UX design. But in a lot of ways, map making is UX design. And so a lot of it translated. You're doing
Yeah.
information architecture, you're doing pleasing graphical design to communicate information to people. You're providing for them a workflow to ask good questions or figure out answers to questions. So mapping and UX is really like knotted up together. So it kind of made sense to me. But yeah, for 12 years, I was a UX person, like design director for that company, only occasionally doing maps.
Okay.
So
That's
yeah,
very cool.
only occasionally doing official maps that I was asked to make. By the end of it, I was just, doing guerrilla maps because I was like, screw it, I need to make some maps and I'm doing it and they can fire me if they want to.
John going rogue.
Yeah,
Nothing's changed.
right.
No, but you do some pretty awesome apps. I think people look at stuff you put together as inspiration for some of the work that they do because it really does help to tell the story of the data, right? And I think, I mean, a lot of people I interact with this stuff are devs, some people that do like cartography kind of work. But I think a lot of times the devs kind of, lose sight sometimes of like all this cool stuff they can do, but at the end of the day, if you don't have the solid data to back it up or a compelling map to help tell the story, you're kind of missing a piece out of some of the work that they're doing and stuff. So I think it's really neat to look at that from a visual perspective, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, actually, just yesterday I saw a tweet from Joshua Stevens. I don't know if it's his quote or if he's quoting somebody, I forget. But he said, "Science isn't done until it's communicated."
Nice.
And that's like it's right on. That's right on because that's the whole point of science. And, collecting all what are you collecting all this data for? So you can do your
Yep.
analysis and then, communicate that to another human being to make a point or get them to ask questions or answer their questions. And if you don't do that last step, then what was the point and expense of collecting all of that data? So the communicating of it is huge. It's kind of the goal.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll see people get all into charts and these fancy graphs and stuff like that they
Mhm.
might do and whatnot. It's the same thing. I mean, if you're spending enough time on a chart to display information, you could push that into maps if you have any kind of spatial component to that at all, right?
Mhm.
Like, show me where the concentration of this information is happening at, or these events, what impact those events have, right? Like, I may not just care that, yeah, there might have been some earthquakes in a certain place, but what was the extent of the damage from those? Where were the reports coming from of like, I felt it over here type of thing, or how much did it cost? The stores that might have shelvings that fell over, those kind of things, right? I mean, those are interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the the fact that plate tectonic theory is accepted now is because um, people lobbed a ton of earthquake data onto a seafloor map that Marie Tharp had been drafting just based on connecting the dots between depth soundings for
Huh.
boats. And she was seeing like this big ridge in the middle of the Atlantic, and people were like, that's kind of crazy. And then they overlaid earthquake data on top of that, and we're like, whoa, I guess Marie Tharp has a point.
Wow.
We should rethink this. Yeah, so I mean that's there's so much wrapped into that. When you see a bunch of data all at once, it starts to reveal like an underlying phenomenon, and that's really cool when stuff like that starts to emerge. But connecting two different data sets, you get
Yeah.
like new dimensions, and you make new discoveries. It's just the coolest.
And yeah, I think that's really when spatial data really starts to shine, right? Where you start to see these um, different stories getting told that maybe you didn't know that were there. And a lot of times, when maybe you start
Hmm.
working on a map with some data sets, you don't know where it's going to end up. You might be looking at one thing because you have a theory of something, and it turns out to be completely something else, which is really awesome.
Yes. Yeah, that's where so much magic is. And that's a little bit of risk in performance metrics and KPIs, like key performance indicators. You like institutionalize these targets, and then the targets become the goal.
Yeah.
And you can get in some real trouble there. But it, that's why it's so valuable to have time to play with data and take a look at the data and be surprised by it and ask honest questions of it, instead of um, making your data like a memorial to the person who was delighted to discover some metric that benefited them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's important to keep unstructured play involved in that whole realm of data. Because if you just always have this pipeline of I've got the data, I'm going to do this and this and this and kick it out the door, you're going to miss out on cool new ways of visualizing it. You're going to miss out on relationships that you might not have noticed. It's just going to be the same old stuff. Um, I think a lot about this kind of crap, Renee.
John, that's why you push out so much content, man.
Quantity over quality.
Hey, it never fails, right?
Quantity is the name of the game.
Yeah, I think one of the most fun presentations I saw you do, and I know a lot of people really enjoyed it, was the Excel map uh,
Oh
presentation. I
yeah.
think that was a keynote you did somewhere. Am I correct in that?
Yes, I bring it out from time to time. I use it almost every time I talk to geography students or people
Okay.
that are kind of new to geography, because and if it's in a keynote, it's because I really want to do well in this keynote. But I try to reserve it, and I haven't made a video about it because I want to reserve it and make it new and fresh for newer audiences. But the gist of it is you can take a bunch of latitude, longitude records, like like earthquakes, like we were just talking about, or fires. NASA has this really nice live feed of fires that you can download as an Excel table, and it shows you the coordinates, the latitude and longitude. And you can do a quick pivot table of the latitude and longitude, and bang, like 3 seconds later, you've made this crazy map that aggregates all that data in a fake pseudo geographic um, visualization, and it's bananas. And you're like, wow, I'm in Excel right now, but I've just made a map. And I like to use that with students because I remember being a student in the early days of my experience with GIS. It can be really intimidating
Mhm.
learning new software and feeling like, oh, I've got to follow this tutorial click by click and I can't deviate, or it's all going to come off the rails and I'm toast. And so I show that just to give people a little bit of perspective, like this is just a tool, it's just software, and the magic happens in your brain when you're using this tool to come to a better question or a visual result or something like that. And I think that's really helpful for folks new to mapping, really new to any software, but especially mapping software.
Nice. That's very cool. I mean, what would you suggest to users, or even maybe like students or new grads out there that are looking into cartography or map making and analysis
Mhm.
like that? Well, how can they experiment with the stuff that they work on to inspire themselves?
Yeah. Well, there's so many resources online. Like I use YouTube to see how to do. Occasionally, I'll have to open up Illustrator or Photoshop. I'm like, oh no, Photoshop. And every step of the way, I'm like, I have no idea where to find this option, but I'm pretty sure it's possible. And so I'll, look it up on YouTube, and sure enough, somebody will show me how to do it. And then I'll get distracted and learn how to make things look like they were etched dollar bill kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I accidentally stumble into these cool worlds that people provide for us for free on YouTube. It's too good to be true. So I would suggest that kind of thing. A lot of the times you're in a class or you have an assignment in your job and your customer wants it a certain way or your boss wants it a certain way. That's okay. Go ahead and give them the one that they asked for.
Yeah.
But I recommend people occasionally brew some chaos by making a second map using the same data. Like here's like the hindsight version. Here's the what if kind of version using the same data. And you just go nuts and play with it and see what comes out of that. And if you're feeling dangerous, you could show that to them. Here's I've completed my assignment. You wanted me to do this. Here it is. But here's another thing. And when you brew some recklessness like that into the process, occasionally, your manager, your professor, your boss might say, you've got another one later on. Maybe that technique could be used here. Or, the customer would think, oh, that weird one you showed me, that gives me an idea for this other data. And all kinds of fun adventures happen after that.
Oh, that is cool. I really enjoy that. That is a really awesome tip for people out there to just kind of like, do a skunkworks project on the side, right? For the stuff that
yeah, for sure.
Now, speaking of students and people experimenting and stuff, there's a new MOOC coming out, right? Or has it started already? I think it's coming out for...
It's February 22nd, 2023 is the next one that comes out. Yeah, they can sign up right now.
And what is the MOOC for people that may not be familiar with that?
Okay, it's a cartography MOOC. So MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Course. It's free, and Esri provides you the software for the duration of the course and a little bit of time afterwards if you want to have some skunkworks projects, of course. And it's created and hosted by Ken Field, and then he brought in some of his colleagues, and I was one of those colleagues, lucky enough to be part of it. And we wrote a bunch of exercises for folks, and it's just about upping your cartographic game, making you think a little bit differently about data, considering options that are available to maybe just teaching you different techniques that you didn't know about. I think a lot of people use it to get familiar with ArcGIS Pro, who are, coming from the ArcMap space, which is a lot of folks. And you can use this kind of zero risk environment to learn Pro. And then when it comes time to upgrade, it's not such a black box to you.
Yeah,
so
that's
coming
really cool.
up in a couple weeks.
That's a great resource. I know my first dive into Pro was like just a couple years ago or so, and I hadn't even opened ArcMap in a long time, and it took me a while to find my bearings a bit and stuff. So it would have been great to have something like that to kind of like just play with, right?
Yeah. When I had to upgrade to Pro, I was brand new to Esri. I opened Pro once and then closed it. I was like, I don't know what's going on here, and I closed it in my other job when I was temporarily wearing that GIS guy hat. And I always used ArcMap, and I kept using ArcMap here at Esri, and then I was asked to do some presentations at the user conference, and so I planned all these demos with ArcMap, and then they said, no, you have to use Pro. I was like, oh no, and it's like a month away. I start sweating.
Oh, wow.
Oh man, I have to look like I know what I'm doing. And the trick I used was I imported ArcMap projects that I was familiar with into Pro. And there was some like weird magic dust that gets sprinkled on you when you do that. Instead of just staring at an empty screen in Pro, an empty, nothingness. For some reason, when I looked at a project I was familiar with in Pro, then it kind of clicked with me that it's the same thing. They've just rearranged the furniture. Yeah. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I was just kind of off to the races after that. So that's a little bit of advice to folks who are at that fork in the road.
Awesome. That was going to bring me to my next bit here before I let you go and go about do whatever it is you need to do. But if you have any tips, tricks, or words of advice for listeners out there, it doesn't even have to be mapping related at all. If you just want teach people a little something, leave them with a little something here, what would you say?
I'll do like a general one, and then I'll do a mapping one. So the general one is love your neighbor. It's so fun. Love your literal neighbors. I mean, it's snowing here, and so I'll clear their driveway. And it's really rewarding, and they're so grateful for it. And my neighbors just brought over some cookies and
Oh,
pistachio nuts, and that was great. Love your neighbor. Not just your literal neighbors, but you, Renee, you're my colleague, and I love you. You're my neighbor, and so I'll do what I can to help you out, and I'm sure you'll do what you can to help me out. If we all did that, I mean, the world would just immediately be just perfect.
love that.
And then the GIS stuff is, I hear a lot when I'll make a thing or do a video or write a blog post. Somebody will say, "Oh, I can't wait to try this at home tonight," or "I want to do this, but I don't have any time." And I've said this before, but I just hate hearing that. It makes me so sad to hear that, because if you're in a job where you literally don't have any time to try like a 5 or 10 minute thing to uh, better yourself professionally,
Yeah.
then that's not a good job, you know. But a
Yeah.
lot of the times I think it's your mindset. Like, I just have to keep cranking out, these projects. I don't have 10 minutes to spare on what looks like play or fun. But play or fun is professional development, and I guarantee you, if you goof around and try new things, um, you're going to be better at your professional job too.
Yeah,
You're going to have a
exactly.
more varied experience and ideas, and oh,
Just making yourself more valuable, and gaining knowledge is never a bad thing. So
no, no, you'll be more valuable to your boss. If that's what you're afraid of, then be
yeah.
more valuable to your boss by stealing some time and goofing around once in a while.
Awesome tips, John. I really appreciate it, sir. I'm sure I'll catch up with you again. And
Yeah, thanks
thank,
for the invitation. It was a lot of fun.
thanks for coming on.
Yeah, and I got to learn that you make physical audio devices, amps and stuff. I
Yeah,
had no
exactly.
idea.
For any listeners who may not be aware, yeah, that's one of the varied hobbies I have is DIY audio, headphone
Love that.
amps and stuff. And my latest venture in DIY stuff is custom keyboards. It's like
Oh,
even like
really?
people may not be able to. I know listeners can't see this, but John can. I got this keyboard that I
Oh,
soldered everything together myself and stuff.
I'm seeing
So
a split keyboard. So
yeah,
like an
split
ergonomic
keyboard.
split keyboard. Do you have the little clacky resistors in
It's
there?
all clacky here. If I start clacking here, I'll probably close my screens. But yeah, it's
Yeah, I can
completely
hear it.
clicky clacky and everything. I love it. It's I have another ergonomic keyboard, a Kinesis Advantage I've used for like 10 years, but
Uh-huh.
I decided I wanted to build my own, and it's fun. I love it. I'm gonna do some more.
That's great. I've seen a YouTube video where people take existing old IBM clacky keyboards and they'll like hot press out the key circles in the shape of a circle,
Oh,
and they'll embed them in like little brass rings and stuff in
yeah,
like a steampunk style key.
that's neat.
They'll inlay it in some beautiful wood and add some brass and stuff.
I have one of those IBM PS2 keyboards in my garage somewhere. I gotta go dig that up because yeah, they are beautiful pieces of machines.
Yeah, and the plastic is all yellowed
It's horrible.
by now, probably.
Yeah, bleach it under UV light or something just to be
Yeah,
reasonable.
yeah. You know what they did? They did peroxide. Somebody just kind of
Oh,
rubbed a little bit of hydrogen peroxide on it. It looked like it was 1993 all over again.
that's awesome. I gotta give that a shot. All right, John. Well, thank you, sir. I'll
Thanks,
see you next
Renee.
time.
Yeah, have a good day. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Boundary Box today. Please subscribe for more content.